They say dogs can sense things we can't. Storms, illness, death. But what about absence? What about the moment a train leaves and someone never returns? Across railways from Montana to Manhattan, people have seen them. Dogs that wait, that wander, that refuse to leave the tracks, years after their owners are gone. Sometimes, years after they themselves should be gone. This isn't about ghost stories. Not yet. This is about loyalty so strong, it doesn't end with death. And maybe, in the quiet between trains, when the wind shifts just right, you'll realize something else is waiting on the platform, and it's not waiting for you. Tonight, we'll delve into 3 chilling tales of devotion, loss, and something left behind. From Shep, the sheepdog who kept a silent vigil at a remote Montana depot, to Bob, a rail-riding dog whose mysterious death didn't end his journey, and Fala, Franklin D. Roosevelt's terrier, whose ghost still lingers under Grand Central. Not all hauntings are angry. Some are patient, and some just won't let go. If you step onto the empty platform at Fort Benton, Montana, late at night, something might feel off. It's quiet, too quiet. Even the wind seems hesitant to whistle through the old depot. But once, decades ago, this silence was regularly broken, not by trains, but by the soft patter of paws pacing the worn wooden planks. His name was Shep, a sheepdog, a shaggy silhouette always watching, always waiting. His story began in 1936, in the harsh heart of America's Great Depression. It was a bitter winter day when a sheepherder's body was loaded onto a train at Fort Benton, headed east for burial. His dog, Shep, followed silently, eyes locked onto the coffin until it vanished into the cold horizon. But Shep didn't vanish. Instead, he stayed, believing perhaps that his master would return on the next train. And so began one of the most haunting vigils ever witnessed on American soil. 4 times a day, every day, Shep appeared at the tracks. He watched as trains hissed to a stop and passengers shuffled past. He examined every face carefully, sniffing the air, eyes hopeful. Then, when the last passenger stepped away, Shep's ears fell. His posture wilted, and he trotted away, only to repeat the painful ritual a few hours later. Weeks turned into months, months into years. Shep's presence became familiar, yet ghostly. Train crews grew protective of the gentle dog, offering food, warmth, and sympathy. Passengers learned his story and passed it along, turning Shep into a Depression-era legend, an emblem of relentless loyalty in an era of profound loss. But something about this unwavering devotion began to feel beyond grief, beyond instinct. The town saw Shep grow thinner, slower, grayer, but his eyes never lost that hopeful, desperate glint. He seemed caught between worlds, alive but unable to live, grieving but unable to let go. On January 12th, 1942, snow blanketed the platform. Shep, aged and his hearing dulled, stood in his usual place. He didn't hear the train coming. The whistle never reached him in time. And just like that, Shep was gone. The townspeople buried him on a hill overlooking the station, his post. A simple gravestone marked "Forever Faithful" reminds visitors that some spirits don't move on because they still have someone to wait for. And to this day, travelers to Fort Benton claim the station feels occupied, as if Shep never really left. They called him Bob, not a mascot, not a stray, just a dog who rode trains. He showed up in the early 1880s. No one knows exactly when. One day, he was just there, riding steam engines across South Australia like he belonged. A scruffy gray mix, part collie, part something tougher. Bob didn't wait for permission. He hopped aboard locomotives, settled on the coal tenders, and vanished down the tracks. Railway workers adopted him. They fed him, gave him a collar, and let him travel. That collar read, "Stop me not, but let me jog, for I am Bob, the driver's dog." Bob didn't stay anywhere long. He had no master, but he was seen everywhere: Albany, Peterborough, Adelaide, always on a different train, always looking forward. Riders loved him. Crews considered him lucky, but some noticed odd things. Bob would get uneasy near certain bridges. He hated tunnels. He'd sit up suddenly and whimper, sometimes before anything went wrong. In 1895, Bob collapsed near a butcher shop in Adelaide. They said he was hit by a cart. Others said he just stopped. The railway buried him with honor. Statues were built. But something else stayed behind. Drivers on night shifts spotted a dog pacing the tracks. Lights flickered in empty stations. Paw prints appeared, unexplained. Bob's statue in Peterborough began to gather flowers and notes asking for luck or protection. Some say Bob still rides, not in flesh, but in blur, in shadow, in the sudden clang of metal on a quiet track, in the shiver you get before boarding a train you weren't meant to survive, because some passengers never disembark. Most people pass through Grand Central Terminal without thinking twice, rushing to trains, dodging crowds, staring at their phones. But beneath the marble arches and the ticking clocks lies something else, something hidden, something haunted. Track 61, it's not on the maps. It doesn't show up on public schedules, but it exists, deep beneath the terminal, sealed off and mostly forgotten. Used once by presidents, tycoons, and wartime dignitaries, and by a small Scottish terrier named Fala. Fala was the constant companion of Franklin D. Roosevelt. He traveled with the president, even through Track 61, which offered discreet access to the Waldorf Astoria's basement elevator. After Roosevelt died, the stories began. Scratch marks on tile, a soft bark echoing from a sealed stairwell, cameras glitching, tools moving, a scent, wet fur, lingering where no dog had been. Security logs show motion sensors triggered, then nothing. Some say Fala's ghost never left, still loyal, still waiting. And above it all, trains thunder on, unaware that beneath them, in locked darkness, a dog might still be standing guard, not for himself, but for the man he refused to stop following. Some dogs guard homes, some guard people. These dogs, they guarded time. They waited on tracks that forgot them, rode trains that no longer run, appeared in places no dog should be, always pacing, always searching, not just loyal, but bound. Shep, waiting for a master who would never come. Bob, chasing trains even death can't stop. Fala, haunting the shadows beneath a city that moved on. While trains are meant to carry us forward, these stories pull us back to the ones that never stopped caring. So next time you cross a platform alone and the wind shifts, when you hear the faint sound of paws in the gravel behind you, when you feel watched but see nothing, don't panic. It might just be one of them, still loyal, still waiting for someone. And some are still trying to catch one last train. Thank you for joining us on this journey down track 13. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more travels into the unknown. Until next time, remember, every track has a story.